here from Thailand, Thailand. Another beautiful day here, as you can see, in Hua Hin, in Prachuap Khiri Khan. Well, it is for me. Unfortunately for some people, it's not such a good day. Yesterday, a bus driving from Bangkok heading south had an accident. The bus ran into a tree, and it was an overnight bus. Obviously it's full of many tourists, I would imagine, because it's the high tourist season. Anyway, 14 people died in that crash, and I think 35 people are badly injured, and maybe the death toll will go up more. It's assumed that he fell asleep at the wheel, the driver, and that's not unusual here. It's seen all the time, because it's not like in the UK, Australia, USA and Western countries where you have to have so many hours and then have a break. Here, people just drive whether they're tired or not, and they hope for the best that they're not going to fall asleep at the wheel. But as you're driving through Thailand, you see all the cars at the side of the road turned over or smashed into trees, and they always say, oh, my brakes failed, but it normally isn't. I would say 95% of the time they fell asleep at the wheel because they've been driving too many hours. So that's what happened yesterday. So 14 people, probably many of them will be expats, holiday makers, and that's the reason I'm putting this video on. Please make sure that if you come to Thailand, you take out hospital insurance in your insurance cover for arriving in the country. Because if not, and something like this did happen, it's a minefield. They'll treat you, obviously, when it's an emergency, they'll take you to the hospital, and but the problem is that at the end of it, they're going to want paying. And that's what I see all the time on these GoFundMe pages. Many people come here and then are involved in an accident, or they get sick, and they can't afford to go back home because they didn't have the proper insurance, or the insurance was voided because perhaps they were driving on the wrong license. You know, you can't come here and drive a car on a motorbike license, and vice versa, you can't drive a motorbike on a car license. So, but a lot of people do. They come here, and that's the problem. You know, the companies who rent you these vehicles don't really care what your license is, as long as you have one. And it's supposed to be an international license as well, not just a license from your own country, but they do rent them to anyone. And they don't even look at the age. I mean, if you look around Thailand, there's 12-year-olds driving motorbikes. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. Please take notice. And this isn't unusual. This happens on a fairly regular basis, because there is no policing as such. I've lived here for 7 years, and I've never once been stopped and breathalyzed over that time, where if I lived in Australia, it was happening. Even 9 o'clock in the morning going to work, they'd stop you because you might have been drinking all night. But here, I've never seen it. I've seen it in the news where they've done it, but it's never happened to me or most of the people that I know. So there's no real policing on the roads. You don't see police cars driving up and down the road, or police in unmarked vehicles looking for speeders. Everyone speeds. People speed past police cars. I've seen it where I've seen a police car in front of me, and I think, whoa, I better stay behind him, and someone will come flying past me doing 140 in a 100-kilometre zone, and the police don't even chase him. So that's the sort of country it is. And I'm not trying to put you off coming here. Please don't think that. I'm just trying to explain that it's not all a bed of roses living here. It can be dangerous, but it's still a fantastic place to come to live or for a holiday, as long as you know the risks that you might have to take living here. This is not the first time this has happened. Not so long ago, I suppose maybe a year ago, a ute with, I think there was 12 students in the back of the ute. They'd been to a party, the driver was drunk, and he's driving, speeding, and he rolled the car, and the 12 people in the back of the ute, obviously not wearing seatbelts, just sitting there drinking their beers, they all died. 12 people, and I think maybe the driver or the passenger in the front also died. So it does happen on a fairly regular basis, and the worst of it is, it's not seen as anything big here. It's in the newspaper, yeah, but then it's forgotten about, and the government don't tell the police to let's do something about this. Nothing ever changes. I remember a few years ago when I first came to Thailand and went to live in Koh Samui. I had a girlfriend there, and she was from Khon Kaen, and she wanted to go home, and she doesn't like flying, so we arranged for transport to pick her up. Now the transport that picked her up came all the way from Khon Kaen, and I think that's about a 20-hour non-stop drive, including the ferry across to Koh Samui. So how he operated was he would drive from Khon Kaen, and if he was a little bit tired when they stopped for meals for the passengers to eat, he would have a 30-minute nap, and when he got to the ferry takes 2.5 hours to get across, he would have a sleep on the ferry, then go into Samui, drop his passengers off, and then he'd pick up his new passengers who were going back to Khon Kaen, and he'd head back, and the same thing, 2.5 hours sleep on the ferry, a few hours sleep on the way up when they stopped for food breaks, and that was it. And he did that regularly. And it's crazy that you're allowed to do that. It's crazy that you can run a company where your driver is driving for all those hours. Not so long ago, I placed a video on my channel saying exactly the same thing about safety driving in Thailand. And I got a message from someone who was adamant that if you come to Thailand, you can drive a car with a motorbike license. And no matter what I said, look, you know, it's up to you if you want to, and it's fine if you don't have an accident, but if you do have an accident, you're going to run into problems. But he wasn't having any of this. He's telling me that no, it doesn't matter, they'll treat you in the hospital and they'll send you home. I told him to look on GoFundMe pages about many people who are stuck in Southeast Asian countries in hospital because their insurance was reneged, and then in the end, which finally shut him up, I sent him a notice from the British Embassy here in Thailand telling British people, if you come to Thailand, make sure that you are driving on the right license because your insurance won't cover you. That's all for now. Cheers, thanks very much for watching. I hope this is useful to you.